Welcome to the Don't Go There podcast. I'm Dr. Brenda Gazelle, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Samantha Seaton, Amanda Krotzer, and Jennifer Sasaki. We are four psychotherapists going toward mental health issues that aren't often discussed. And our podcast may go to psychological places that are both scary and exciting. We hope to inspire authenticity and vulnerability. We want to go there, and we're so happy you've decided to go there with us. Hi there. What we're discussing today, or what we're asking actually is social media bad for your mental health? And I think it's an important question because social media sites have become an important part of everybody I know's lives. I was looking it up, and 2 billion users were active monthly users on Facebook this year. 500 million regularly post photos on Instagram, and more than 300 million communicate via Twitter. And Time Magazine, CNN, and Huffington Post all recently published articles in May saying, yes, social media is bad for your mental health. They all cited a particular study by the Royal Society for Public Health that surveyed about 1,500 people from ages 14 to 24 years old on how social media impacted their mental health. They were looking at the psychopathology such as anxiety, depression, self-esteem, self-identity, and body image. And they said that most social media is bad for your mental health. Not all, though. One thing they found was that YouTube overall had a positive impact. Because there was a lot of how-tos.
Why are we laughing? Because I'm thinking of all the funny videos on YouTube.
I know, right.
Cats falling asleep and falling off the couch. I have to watch that at least 10 times in a row.
I know, and those puppies.
Yeah.
Just puppies.
Pandas sneezing.
Right? Sometimes even before I go to bed, I'm like, okay, just look at some puppies and then we'll be okay. Okay. So maybe that's it. Anyway, but their study revealed that it was Instagram that was the most negative. And then Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat were somewhere in the middle. But most importantly, the study found that it's not what social media you engage in, but how often. More than 2 hours a day of social networking is correlated with more symptoms of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and poor body image. However, another recent study published by the Journal of Computers and Human Behavior, which hasn't been popular in the news, it showed that it wasn't actually the amount of time you spent on social networking, but it was how many social platforms that you were involved in. So you could spend many hours, but if you are on, say, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Vine, that's much worse for your mental health than say you just pick 2. And as we're talking about this whole subject, I just really quickly want to make a side note that we're not discussing cyberbullying, because that's such a huge issue when people talk about social media and very sensitive. And so I think that's a real and scary phenomena. And I think that all the studies say by Albert Bandura about imitating violence and our understanding that if we show violence, people will become violent, and that, young kids will watch adults doing violence and do that. That's real. It's not okay. And it should be legislated. But that's not, I don't think, what our topic is today. And I just wanted to make that point clear. What we're discussing is the phenomena of social media when used in what we may think is an innocuous way, but has an impact on people, our friends we don't even know, or we're not considering how it's having an impact on us. And the main 3 things that keep coming to mind for me when I was thinking about particularly Facebook and Instagram were body image, narcissism, and then what everyone talks about, which is FOMO, which they've done actual studies now, like scholarly studies on FOMO and the fear of missing out. And it's like an actual psychological issue that they're saying is causing true anxiety, depression, and fear because of social media. Yeah. So I can say a little bit about each of those, or if you guys are ready, I'd love to hear your thoughts just because this is such a charged subject.
Yeah, I love this topic.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, I think it's a two-edged sword. When it comes to marketing, to companies, to access to goods, to that side of things, I think social media has been huge. It's really been a development in our society, for sure. When it comes to mental health, which is what we're talking about today, I think it's definitely had an impact in a negative way. And I use it a lot. I am a huge subscriber to social media. I'm on Facebook. I'm not on Snapchat anymore. I'm on Instagram. I've dabbled in the blogging arena. And what I've noticed most of, and a big thing that I'm part of, is following bloggers who do a lot of fashion stuff. So they take pictures of their outfits and display those. They take pictures of their travels and get paid to do this. It's become this huge thing where people are getting paid to travel and paid to wear companies' clothing.
Yes.
And so to myself and so many other people, it looks like these people have fabulous lives. So fabulous. And it's wonderful. What's even more wonderful, and I've really fallen into myself, is there's, especially on Instagram, is there's this new like it, know it. So you like the picture of this fashion blogger, sends you this lovely email with all the items the person's wearing, and it'll take you right to the store online to buy the items. So guess who buys the items, right? So
fabulous.
You know what this does, though? Unfortunately, while it leads to the brands having more exposure, it leads to these few individuals having these fabulous lives, it leaves the rest of us who are looking at these lives feeling like we don't have enough, feeling like we're missing out on something, feeling like we're not doing something right. We need more. Fill. I don't feel that, but I can see how that could become a huge problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Does that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think about, missing out, but on a different level. We had with my, teenage boys and stuff, there was a girl that was over, who was visiting. And so she's sitting there and we're all sitting around eating lunch and everything. And she's looking at her Instagram and she's like, oh my gosh, my friends are like right down the street. She was visiting from another city. She's like, my friends are right down the street and they didn't even tell me. So she sees the Instagram post of all of them together. Whereas in my day and age, my friends would maybe go out, not invite me along or whatever. I wouldn't know any different. I'm just sitting at home doing my thing, or I'm out. But here it's right in front of your face. Here's your other friends out doing something, not including you. Or, there's just, I could see for teenagers, like,
oh God,
just that missing, or that, like seeing it right in your face, along with the body image stuff, along, and I was just reading something recently too, where they talked about that. And from the introduction of the smartphone, since then, the depression, the loneliness of teenagers has skyrocketed. Like, it's a huge shift from those reasons, just like that, of just, always comparing yourself. I mean, we struggle with that anyways, the comparison game. And now you just have it right there on your phone. These people who of course are posting the best pictures.
Right.
It's not like I'm posting a picture of me with, whatever going on and where I just got done crying or, anything else. I mean, I'm posting, this great picture like everyone else. So,
but I love it because what you both did was show like exactly the, two polarizing ways in which already social media happens. First, you're like, oh my gosh, I can go and click on this fabulous fashion and get the items that I want, which I'm like, oh gosh, that sounds really
me too.
Great.
Cool. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. I didn't either.
Yeah.
I was like, you can just click on it. They're going to send it to me. Wonderful. And so there's a way in which, as a consumer, I'm getting the product I want immediately. And also I get to look like, that person. I get to feel good about it. And it all seems very lovely. And what's the big deal? And then you're saying, which we hear a little more often about, is the youth saying, oh my gosh, I don't want to be here. I want to be somewhere else. I'm not everything's fabulous over here. It's not happening for me. And, you know, it was interesting because as I was looking into just even thinking about this podcast, I was reading some articles, and one woman from a researcher from Brown University was saying, I think it was her, that she said, is it actually the problem with social media itself, or is it that people have a propensity for depression and for competitiveness that are getting so crazy onto it? So then we always want to say, who do we blame? Right. And I thought, no, it's not just one or the other. I mean, and that's what I kept coming back to and I kept thinking about was, do you remember Naomi Wolf and the Beauty Myth? Did you guys read that?
I don't remember that.
Okay, so she's kind of this popular feminist who said, you know, mass media is what is causing anorexia or eating disorders. And then from that, there's some research that was done by a Harvard psychiatrist who went to a Fijian island. And there she introduced television around, I think, like 1995, the first time, to these Fijian women that had never, well, Fijian tribal women or people who had never had television before. And in only 2 years' time, she did a study, and this community who love food and kind of love full-bodied women and really celebrated it. She said they have body image problems, and she did research about them. And the Fijian girls, after 2 years of television, said, "I want to look like the Western image. I hate my body." And they were purging 11% of them in 2 years. A decade later, they had some of them, I think it was 75% body image and something like eating disorders. I'm not going to quote it perfectly, but my point of all that is if we, you know, that was the first time they were really throwing out, if media does not affect you, let's rethink it. Right? It's affecting us in profound ways. And we have to get serious and think about it. So we want to think it's innocuous. We want to think it's benign, but there's something here that is profound. And yet, honestly, like, I come from a place doing Facebook, doing Instagram, new to Instagram more, but
Welcome.
thank you.
I'm enjoying your presence on Instagram.
Oh, thank you. See?
I wasn't sure if it was just for this podcast, but I was liking it.
No. So see, but that feels vulnerable for me. When I even said, I'm like, oh, thank you. You liked my pictures. Like, but there's this sense of it feeling vulnerable and almost more like a photo album for me. Like, that's how I see it, or like things that are on my heart. But I'm not a teenager. I'm not an adolescent. Like, I can't even imagine at 16 having that kind of media at my fingertips. It scares me, like, even to think about the things that I could post or would have been posted about me at that age. And so I have to hold on to that. And then I also think, but also, you know, it does encourage narcissism.
Yeah, because it's all about the performance. It's not about the felt experience.
Right?
But there are some people, I mean, I feel like I could go either way on this. I feel like there are some people that really use social media for good and not evil. I think I've personally had seasons of my intake, and I only do Facebook and Instagram. I don't even know how to use Snapchat. I'm like, that's a thing. Like, it sounds like a fish. I don't know. But the way I've done Facebook.
But your kids' friends use Snapchat.
My kids' friends use Snapchat. That scares the
crap out of me. I want to hear more about that. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, from my experience with Facebook and Instagram, I've had seasons where I wanted to be involved in everything. I've had my own FOMO and friend requested or accepted all the friend requests. And then I've had other seasons where I've left it completely because I have felt like it's been really bad for my mental health. I've a really harsh inner critic, and I have a hard time I have a hard time contacting my felt experience of myself and my life already on a regular daily basis. I like to, to use that psychobabble term. Like, I like to have an external locus of control. I like you to tell me I'm good enough. I like you to tell me, I like the outside world to tell me I'm okay and I'm all right and I've arrived. And so it's my life's work to have an internal locus of control, to have that internal experience of, I have this felt experience of my life that is enough for me. I'm recovering anorexic and bulimic. So for me, my body image is a daily struggle of, oh, wait, it got outside of me for a minute. How do I feel
in my body in this moment? What do I want for lunch? That's just my life's work. So I've gone from having Facebook and Instagram be this like, oh, I'm plugged in, I'm good enough, I'm cool. And to be totally honest, that's like my little kid, like, look, I'm finally a part of the in crowd. And then I realized like, I can't cope. I can't manage. It gets too overwhelming for like that introverted, anxious part of me. So I've like withdrawn and I've bailed on Facebook and social media. And then I've re-entered and then I've re-entered a little more discerning. Like I don't accept some friend requests and I don't, when I post some things, I do limit who it gets posted to. And I've had to really think it through. I can't imagine myself as a teenager. I think it would have been really bad for me. But as an adult, I've had to come back to it several times. And I've found a way to use it, like, what is it? Peter Parker, Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes.
Like, I feel like I have this wonderful power to plug into the world, but I also have the responsibility of making sure I'm feeding myself well. Mm-hmm. So that's been a learning curve for me with social media. And I follow incredible people that inspire me. I love your posts. I love all of your posts, actually. I follow all of you now, and I love seeing your family, Jen, and I love seeing you and your puppy, and I love seeing Brenda and your husband. It's just beautiful. So, I don't have too many people that when I see it, it triggers me, but that's just a little bit of the hypervigilance I've had to have about what works for me and what doesn't to kind of keep that internal locus of control going and at the same time stay socially connected. So it's a bit of a tension to manage, and it doesn't always go well because there are people who comment or lack a comment, or a friend who posts something about people who visited her but didn't post a picture of me, and it totally messes with me. It does. It's real.
It's so interesting because I'm thinking of how much, it's for connection, which there is the positive of that. You get to connect with people. I mean, I connect people from high school that, I would never see or connect with without Facebook or Instagram. But then I'm sitting here going, but is too much connection bad? Is connection good, but too much connection bad? Because then I see things and hear things and know things that then there's that comparison thing, or then there's, that maybe I would have been better off not connecting, in that way. Or it's just this kind of connection. I don't know. That's so superficial and, I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting.
I love this because I think it's such a stunning, amazing, cognitive, deep way of thinking about how do I enter into a relationship. And that's what both of you are saying is, am I introverted? Am I extroverted? How will this affect me? Am I allowed? And that's what I don't think. I mean, if you think about it, we don't have our frontal lobe until we're 24. So many of these kids are on here and they're not having the judgment, the internal locus of control, any idea of how to say, how do I want to do intimacy? How will I be loved and loved back? How can I show myself, show up, be vulnerable, and be honored? And they really are, without knowing it, putting their pearls before swine.
Totally.
And that's what I think is heartbreaking is, and without knowing it in a way that's not about cyberbullying, because I'm not talking about that. That's a different piece because I read so much about that, but I'm talking about just, I'm just putting myself out here. These people seem nice because they should be my friends and this all seems fun and it all seems like a good idea. And why can't I just go play? We all kind of feel when we're young and we just want to go participate. And then we forget there's mean people.
Yeah. The people have to earn. I think you told me this, Brenda, when I was in grad school and I wanted to get this deep insight into people's lives and help people in the first couple sessions. And you said you have to earn the right. And I feel like that's something that gets skipped with social media is that you're like, oh, it's cool. We're friends or whatever. But people haven't earned the right to speak into those places in our lives all the time. And so for me, I mean, I'm fighting the tension between wanting to be known and seen by others and validated and loved and commented on, but then also realizing that, the audience I share this with, have they earned the right to say something, anything, good or bad, about my life? Because what they say is going to affect me. If it's one heart or three hearts, and if it's a pink heart versus a red heart, that shit matters to me.
Okay, but how wonderful, Sam. I'm so glad you brought this up because here is one of the most important things that I keep reading about. And oh man, it's okay. that, what did they say? 70-something% of this like 1,700 girls, or it was boys and girls that were on Facebook and Instagram, they said in this study, oh my gosh, if they like me, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If they heart me, I'm okay. If not, I remove the post.
Yeah.
And they said, I do. I remove the post. Majority, like, 3/4 of them remove the post because I'm not okay. Then that post wasn't good. So what's happening is they're not, and they're just new and young kids are saying 14 to 24 are saying, all before frontal lobe, by the way, we remove the post if you don't like it. So I only can be this. I mean, talk about a Procrustean reality that is so messed up.
Well, you think about the stage of development where during that teenage time, it's all about the friends and what the friends think. And that's what's forming you too, Yeah. So you're presenting something to the friends for some sort of feedback and, waiting to see, am I okay? Am I not okay? And that's, it's pretty scary when what they're seeing is just such one dimension of really who you are.
And then we can say, like, I love what you said. My heart matters. It all happens. It does. I remember being like on a vacation in Colorado with like this little like retreat. I went with a friend, my friend Karina, and we were like hanging out, and we were so funny because we posted this thing we were really proud of. I can't remember exactly what it was. And when we got likes, we went ding, ding, ding. They're coming in. Ding, ding, ding. Because we were so proud.
Yeah.
Like that is vulnerably saying, we want to hear that you like us. It wasn't, I'm just posting this and I'm fine, whatever. If you like it, you don't like it. It was, I'm putting it out there, and we like made it like Las Vegas. That was the ding sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Money's coming in, we're winning or we're losing.
That's
the
right.
ding, ding, ding sound. We both went ding, ding. I don't know where that came from. We went ding, 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 ding. They're coming in. What a thing to say. But we did. And we loved it.
Yeah. Well, or the one where you put it up and you don't get enough like likes or whatever, then you take it down and repost it at a better time. That's what the kids will say too. Like, no, it's not a good time. And there's all these rules around it that I learned from my teenagers.
Yeah, I've heard that, but I don't know the rules.
Oh yeah, you don't post
There's
more than one
certain times,
post during a day. So like if I get like 3 posts in a row from somebody, I'm just like, oh, they don't know the rules,
Wait, I don't know the rules.
Yeah, from my teenagers,
I don't know
What
are the rules.
And then you have to like post at certain times when more people are on it. Because there are certain times that not as much people are on.
So what's the
I did
time?
notice that the other day because I put this really killer post and it was like midday. And I remember thinking, it's noon. No one's on Instagram.
It's going to get buried.
It's going to get buried.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, is that a real thought?
You wasted the post.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wasted the post.
Yeah.
So juicy.
Yeah.
You know what I was saying the other day?
Oh my gosh, it's so rad. I never knew this. This is good.
Yeah.
I really wish there was, you know how they
And look at I'm more interested in the rules than like the psychology of the rules, and more on like psychology podcasts. And I'm still like, but what are the rules so I can do it right?
Also, disclaimer, it's the end of a long work day.
Okay, thank you. It's Monday and we're tired. Okay.
But I was thinking, you know how they do that translation on Facebook? You know, someone posts something as a translation. I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if there was like a translation for like the honest intention behind the post? Like,
Oh, that'd be cool.
like a translation for like, I'm really struggling with motherhood today, but I figure if I put this picture of my child with their head on my shoulder, it makes me feel like everything's okay. Please validate me.
Beautiful.
Or like, you know, like I'm really feeling hideous about myself, or I'm depressed out of my mind and I put some makeup on, and I figure if I put this selfie out there, you guys will like, let me know it's all going to be all right. Like something like that honest translation button. I would be way more into social media if that could exist.
Too. That'd be so cool. Cause I think part of the problem too, you think about it. So I'm a mom and I'm struggling with my kids or depressed or something. I see all my mom friends with their happy pictures with their families and stuff. Yeah. How am I going to be vulnerable or open up to any of them? You know, so again, that piece of like, I'm connecting with them, but I can't, it's also prohibiting me from really connecting with them because now I have to present this certain self.
And that's it. It's not about honest connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about showing you my best self. And that's not horrible. If you think about like first dating someone, you always, the first like, you know, 10 dates is the best self, then we start to like see a little bit more. I mean, every date, a little more, but it's always like, I'm going to show up and show my best self, a little more best self. Right. And then I'm like, okay, the layers are going to come back. So there is that piece of, I'm going to show up and this is my best self, or this is what I like about myself. I'm not going to show you things I don't like. And why would I want that if there's a chance you're going to dislike me,
Right.
or not like me, or whatever hurt me? I mean,
Say something freaking harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you say that about moms, because I was thinking about even young adults. We were talking about the younger generation. You mentioned moms, Jen. And I'm thinking about my age, career driven, early 30s, late 20s, and putting ourselves out there for approval in our careers and making our image about that. And that there's not even a level of authenticity anymore in relationship, because communication when you meet someone now face to face is, I saw that post. How were your travels? I saw that post. How was blah, blah, blah. You're not getting to know someone anymore on a deeper level because you don't know how to go deep. It kind of stays at the Instagram or Facebook level, and you chat about the photos, or you chat about the comment that was made on social media. And we're starting
an illusion of deep.
Right. Right. And you're losing the ability to get to know not only your own genuine self, but somebody else's genuine self. Because you're stuck there.
Yeah. On top of the factor, I mean, just like what you were saying, Sam, about, sort of sitting with yourself and being with yourself. I am on a ton of social media, and I don't know, maybe it is just having teenagers at home, but I am that person that before I go to bed at night, I'm looking at Facebook, I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at Twitter, I'm going through them, or the first thing in the morning. And
I
it is
used to
definitely,
read. I don't do it anymore.
No, me neither. And I literally have the conversations with my kids all the time. Like, guys, I know my brain before I was on social media compared to now, it's not good. Like, I have the hardest time concentrating on, reading or sitting with myself or praying or doing anything. I don't want to miss anything. I definitely have that. I'm going to be checking it all the time, or, and I'm just like, wow, this is crazy. So I'm losing myself too, and an authenticity within myself.
But there's a comfort in that, which is why we keep doing it. Because there's no one to connect with anymore with your authentic self in a way, because everybody's doing that. Yeah. And so it almost came to a point where you just meet them there and you just scroll yourself through. Through it.
Yeah.
Right. No one else is reading. No one else can hold this conversation with me about this book I'm going through or the study I'm doing. Everyone's talking about Instagram. Let's check it out. Let's see what's going on.
My husband just got on Instagram literally this last week for the first time, and only because he feels like he's missing out.
Right.
Because me and the kids are all talking about these Instagram posts and what's happening on Instagram or Twitter, that finally he was like, okay, can someone show me how to get on this thing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because that's what we're talking about.
This is good we're talking about it, because that's profound. I mean, there's that sense of, you just said, well, if you can't get connection, and we're not adolescents, right? And so we know pre-social media, if you can't get connection in the way that you'd like it, then let's join them in the way that they're doing it, which I guess isn't very edifying, but I guess we all have to live on crumbs.
Yeah. Which is
depressing.
Yeah, totally.
Now I get it.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's similar. Like, as you were saying that, I work a lot in the addiction community. It's the same. Like, if you can't beat them, join them. It's the same kind of thinking that leads us to
addiction,
which is, I don't know if you know Brene Brown's definition of FOMO, but it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, go.
I don't have it memorized, so if we're honored to ever have the lovely Mrs. Brown listening, I'm going to butcher it. But she says something about like where the fear of missing out, FOMO, is where scarcity and shame slam into one another. So scarcity, that belief that there's not enough, and shame is that feeling, even if there were enough, I wouldn't be eligible for it. Those two slam into each other, and we sacrifice what we really want. We sacrifice the internal longing of or knowing of what we really want. So she says beautifully in this little quote that says like, and that could be like a long journey or a short nap. Anything that we know we really need, we skip and we bypass because we fear missing out because there's not enough of it. And even if there was, I'm not good enough to get it. So screw me. Let me just plug back in. It's a whole mindset. And so she says she does a beautiful job of like, you know, when we are able to let go of our FOMO, when we return back to ourselves, when we have the courage to stay true to what we know we need, we do the hero's journey. Which I think, you know, I mean, we can blame social media, but I think a long time ago, people would have blamed books or would have, you know, it seems to be human nature. We seem to find some way to connect, and then we turn it into a shortcut. We turn it into an easy button. I think that can happen for anything. So I like hesitate like making social media all bad because it seems to be, it's brought a lot of good into my life. I have a lot of friends that are scattered all over the world. And so it's really lovely. But for an adolescent brain, it's like social crack.
No, but I love, I mean, what you said was just beautiful and great summary of Brene Brown. I think you nailed it. But I'm thinking to myself, well, yeah, we can demonize social media, but we have to respect that it's so much there that, like you said, Jen, your husband's like, well, okay, so all the kids are showing something I didn't get to see and I need to get on it. It's not just, you know, it's so big. I mean, what is it? Billions of people are now on it. It is really taking over, and we have to respect that there's something, you know, about the internet, about social media, about connecting in that way that is disconnecting us. And it has something powerful, something that we almost worship about it, that we almost get locked into being an other, a God of its own. Will I get approval or will I not get approval? Will I be known or not known? It doesn't even become the people anymore that we're connected to, but almost like the internet. I went on there, I showed myself, and now do I get this thing to give me approval back or not? And now we found this almost like web God, and it's scary and it's big, and it's not just the people we think we're connecting to. They get lost. It becomes a machine that we're connecting into. I mean, does that make sense, or does that sound too crazy?
No, just crazy enough. It's good. Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned this before when I was talking to you guys a little bit about it when I had talked about cargo cults. Do you remember that idea? And cargo cults, they've been around for a long time, but the first occurrence was like in World War II. And
they dropped the stuff.
Yeah, they dropped stuff on these tribes, and these tribes would be dropped food and technology and just things they'd never seen in their lives. And then all of a sudden it went away. And so, but they didn't understand that it was machine. And they went back and they completely tribalized it, or they made it into God, and they went and they would do these certain things and put on these like outfits that were left, like military outfits. And they would like actually put their hands in certain ways and hope that God would come back and leave them more. And it became ritual, and everyone kind of made fun of it. Oh, the cargo cults. I mean, they were laughed at as being stupid. But the truth is were they? No, the studies, and we look at it from an, we look at it from an, as anthropologists, and we study that and we say, no, the question really is that we're all capable of getting caught into something bigger of us, not understanding it and losing ourselves completely and going into a ritualized way of trying to get more likes, more love, more stuff. And it becomes like a worship. And I really think there is something very big about, we get sucked into it at night, right before we go to bed. I've done that same thing. And like, oh, who did this? Who did that? And we're losing ourselves. And it's not just a book. It's big. It's
what's
powerful.
Meeting our needs. When I think about the cargo cults, like you say, that's what was meeting their need. This thing would come and drop their, what they were needing. And in the same way, how is social media meeting the need? I mean,
That's so cool. As you were saying that.
Psychologically. Yes.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about this, but I thought I feel like there are so many areas of our culture and our world that are kind of waking up emotionally and psychologically. And I feel like, this might sound totally cuckoo, but that's interesting. It's almost like we've found a way to get that need met. Because I'm thinking, I love Brene Brown. I love Liz Gilbert. I love Glennon Doyle Melton. And I just feel like their writings kind of echo this global shift towards authenticity and vulnerability. But in shifting towards authenticity and vulnerability, we also shift towards need and acknowledging our needs from one another. And it's interesting that we have social media. So it's like a way that we get to meet that need in a safe, kind of protected way. I don't know. I was just thinking sociologically, it could be interesting to see how it develops and how we find ways to like meet this new need that we are all acknowledging kind of as a society that we have. We have the need to be known and seen and real and authentic. And then we also have the need to know that we belong and that that's okay. And that you like me and that I can bare my soul and that there's feedback and that
But we've always had that need.
We've always had it, but I feel like it's shifting. Like I feel like the volume is turned up on it socially. Maybe I'm wrong and it could just be a personal thing that I'm projecting onto the world. But I feel like the culture is shifting to more like a direct acknowledgement of that need. And so it would make sense to me that social media would be like the cart, like we're getting that need met, but it's like a safe way to get the need met because it's hard to know if we're going to really get that need met because I can grow and change and need that. But what if no one else is growing and changing with me?
Yeah.
Then I have all the need and none of the meeting.
I think too, what's so interesting, if you think about when, kids are little and their parents, their primary caregiver reflects back to them who they are in the world. There's all that reflection that's happening. And the child then internalizes that this is who I am. This is how I'm seen by the world. This is, maybe where kids aren't getting that as much. I don't know. I'm thinking even in this culture where the mom maybe is more into her phone than she is reflecting back, how much more are we creating the need for the social media? You know what I mean? Because they're not getting that internalization of who they are, where it is coming from instead of it coming from the inside, because if you don't get that, then you need it from the outside.
I love that because I was thinking of, I read some article, I can't remember where, but the family took like 20 photos until they got the perfect photo.
Wow.
Right? It was like, no, but we can do it better. And so like all the kids got together. It was like 5 kids and like the 2 parents and like, they're like, no, we can do it better. Like they kept doing it. I'm sure at a photo shoot, you do that too, but so they've had that in the past, but there was this way in which the kids said, we'll never be perfect enough. And then they finally did it. And it was like they were Disneyland or something though. It wasn't like, we got our best dress on. It was like we're Disneyland. And then they finally got like the right filter and everything. The mom and dad did it. They put it down and like, that's how we want to look to the world. And the kids were like, oh, got it. Like, that's how we're supposed to be. I mean, that's powerful, right?
Soul murdery.
And plus they missed all that time in Disneyland. The picture. I mean, geez, like go get in a line or
serious
something.
Progress,
right?
Star Tours.
But I mean, that's it, right? That's how we're supposed to be. So now we're just perpetuating just what you said. The idea of just being isn't cool.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of like, I remember like, so I graduated in the 90s. So I'm like total Kurt Cobain kind of 90s girl time period, a little bit of punk rock. And, it was kind of cool to be sloppy. Like, someone shaved their head and I was like, yeah, like we're awesome. Right. Like, like there was a sense of kind of going against like the idea of being feminine and like being kind of hardcore that I was grungy. Like, grungy was rad. I was like, I don't have to be like this pretty girl anymore. I can just like, I remember reading this quote was like, you don't have to be pretty to like take up space in this world as a woman or something. Like, and I can't remember what it was, but I was like, yes, I don't have to be pretty. Like, because I thought I did like forever. And I don't hear that slam down on Instagram or Facebook, or that's not the message lately. So, I mean, if we really think about it, we're all responsible. It comes back to, again, like, what's going on right now? We want to say it's just, you know, I mean, I'm just kind of like flowing or riffing right now. But if we really think about it, like, what's happening today in like 2017, that's not the flow. Why isn't that like everywhere? Like,
well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's on my feed.
Right. Okay.
I follow some badass women, and that's the feed all day, every day. But 3 times this week, I had to report to Instagram that someone tried to friend request me, and it was pornography.
So you did?
Oh, 3 times. And I report all of them. And some of them, I get the thing back that says like, you know, we've looked into this and it is not, it fits within the guidelines. And I'm like, you gotta be effing kidding me. How is that in the guidelines of anything? But I mean, my Instagram feed is pretty gangster.
I was like, wow, I'm not getting this friend request.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty, it's full of like things that I will go through and I'll be like, yes. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I could probably pull up one right now.
No, I mean,
that's like reminders.
Beautiful.
But like I've had to screen and I've had to learn the hard way. And all of it's all out there. That's the thing. Right?
And you know what?
The beauty and the terror. It's all out there.
The beauty and the terror. And you know what? And that's what I keep kind of having this feeling of the whole time we're talking about this subject is, I can't contain it. It's so big. I feel like there's just like this little tiny bit, this slice that we're like looking at.
Yeah.
And we have such a narrow perspective and we're only giving like a lot of other subjects, like psychologically, I'm like, oh, we can kind of grasp this and like, you know, wrap our minds around it and talk about it more. But I feel like it's just so huge that just this tiny little slice we're looking at and we're going, well, this is our like a little bit of experience, but we know it's so much bigger and it's traumatizing people. It's uplifting people. It's moving people, but it's also like going in a way that we can't even fathom. We haven't even studied. We can't figure out. It's just so big that I feel so little in it. I feel humbled by the social media experience. I feel so humble and small.
Do you know what I just realized? We have 4 therapists in the room and not one of us has brought up the point that if a child has a really great sense of who they are and a really strong ethos about what they believe in the world, they will find their way through social media. Okay.
Oh, totally.
Right. And I didn't even go there until like you're talking. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like, whoa, it's just so big. It's so big and so scary that I think it's like,
you get
even my own children, I'm like scared for them to enter into, like, I don't let them have Facebook or Instagram yet. And my oldest is 12. So their friends do, but I'm too anxious about it right now. I'm too afraid because
I think that's kind of like what I was saying. If that parenting is there and that reflection is there when they're young and they're, you know, taking that in and they know who they are in the world. I mean, I'll never forget my son Noah at like 4 years old. He's climbing into the bath and he's like, I like me. I wouldn't want to be anybody else. You know, he just like loves himself and it's like solid and, you know, and he's like still that person. He doesn't really, you know, worry about what other people think of him. That's just him, you know, my other kids might be a different way, but, if they have that sense of themselves, I feel like they go out and they see things and they can appreciate people being successful. And he is so much like that. He can see his friends be successful and go to Stanford or go here or do this or get this award. And he's so happy. I watch him rejoice with them, where I'm a person who would be insecure.
That's it. So that's what we haven't talked about. Competition and envy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's always, that's so much what social media, you know, that's the ugly side of it, right? Of, oh, I want to compete. I want to be like that envy and competition. You're saying if you give them enough of knowing who they are, they're not going, oh, it would be so much better if I was over here. What if I had that? What if instead they go, you know what? Awesome. There's abundance here. Everyone has enough. We can all shine.
That's exactly.
And that is a hard place to get. And it's interesting, there's 4 psychotherapists here and we haven't discussed that I've had, I don't even know, gosh, in the last, 17 years, hundreds of sessions on people crying, devastated by what they find on Facebook. what they're told on Facebook. I mean, this is the fodder of what we discuss of the can't believe I saw so-and-so was this person or what they've done. And so, I mean, it's profound. And yet we want to say, if you're strong enough, you can handle it.
Yeah.
But you also, I love what you said, Sam, which is you got to just say it's still a hero's journey. It's still our heroine's journey, right?
Yeah.
You have this most amazing child, this amazing person with like the most ego strength, and they've like found themselves, and there's like abundance everywhere. You still send them out into the social media world, and they're like, it's hard to navigate these waters. These are big waters.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A lot of stuff in that water.
And so what we've said is be selective. You can say no. Just like in any relationship, treat it like a relationship, have boundaries, don't put your pearls before swine. Say to people, I don't need to regulate you or make you like me or like you.
Yeah.
If there's people that want to like you or want to be your friend on Facebook, on Instagram, on these places that you can say, no, and have, you need a table of friends. Table of friends on Facebook, a table of friends on Instagram. It's a table of 10. It's beautiful. That's all you need. And we all get to clap for each other, shine for each other, be there for each other, create a small table of people who we all celebrate one another. Don't go for quantity, because that's just a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Plus, I think it's putting it out there for you, going, I'm creating this post. For me, this is what I want to share and put out there, and what I'm.
And if you're but see, I'm saying that for like young people who are looking. And then I'm like, but if you're a marketer with a business and you want as many people as possible, and you want like thousands and thousands of followers, then just know who you are, and that takes so much strength.
Doesn't it always though? Social media or the freaking grocery store. Either one, you. I'm having the same kind of know who you are.
I think it's such a big subject. That's what it is, though. Is when we were younger, or when you're before social media, you knew when you stood up on a stage in front of like 1,000 people that you were in front of 1,000 people.
Yeah, you don't feel it in the same way with a number rather than all those faces in front of you. Yeah.
And you don't realize, like, I'm putting myself out here for 1,000 people right now. And this is happening, and they're going to all give me feedback.
Yeah.
Or could.
Yeah, that's the other thing, is you just didn't really know when I was a kid. You just didn't really know what other people thought about you that much, unless you know what I mean? You didn't really ask. You just went through the world with yourself and doing you and whatever. But now it's like everything you put out there is up for feedback of, what anyone else can say, whatever they want, and give you feedback, or even giving you no feedback is giving you feedback. It's like, oh man, this is rough.
All right, where are we at the end?
I feel like we could do a part 2.
Thank you for choosing to listen to the Don't Go There podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please review us on iTunes. To learn more about any of us, go to www.don'tgotherepodcast.com or www.gazellepsychotherapy.com. Thanks again.